All right, we've all seen Batman win, right? With his fists, his gadgets, his incredible mind. But what if he had to fight a totally different kind of battle? A battle not against a person, but against an idea itself. And what if, in winning that fight, he made the single biggest mistake of his entire life?
So think about it. How do you actually defeat a god? And I don't mean with kryptonite or some magic spell. I mean, when you're up against an opponent who is basically an idea personified, how do you win that? Well, here's the thing. You don't. You don't fight the person. You fight the concept that makes them a god in the first place. This is the story of how Batman weaponized philosophy and the absolutely horrifying unintended consequences that followed.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in a massive, climactic battle with Lex Luthor. But this time, Batman isn't just trying to outsmart him or overpower him. No, this time he has a new and frankly terrifyingly powerful weapon.
Now, this is not your average batarang. It's called the Omega Axiom. It doesn't break bones, it breaks beliefs. It's a weapon designed to literally deconstruct the ideas that hold his enemy's entire reality together. And to get how a weapon like that could even exist, we gotta take a quick dive into the rules of this universe's reality.
So this brings us to the core concept of this whole thing, the mind's reality projector. It's going to make a lot of sense, I promise.
Okay, so this idea is actually borrowed from the philosopher Immanuel Kant. His big revolution in thinking was this: your mind isn't just a camera, passively recording what's out there. It's more like a computer's operating system. It's actively building the reality you experience by taking in all this raw data and slapping its own rules and structure onto it.
So the world you and I see every day, the world with individual things, with heroes and villains, that's what's called the phenomenal world. The best way to think about it is like the user interface of reality. It's the movie playing on the screen, organized by our mind's software using rules like space, time, and cause and effect.
But what's powering that projector? Well, that's the noumenal world, the thing in itself. It's the true underlying reality, the source code if you want to stick with that analogy. And here is the absolute kicker. We can never perceive it directly. The moment our mind tries to look at it, that operating system kicks in and processes it into the phenomenal world we can actually understand.
Okay, this table here really lays out what philosophers call the Great Divide. On the left, you've got the phenomenal world. That's the reality structured by our mind, the only one we'll ever know. And on the right, you've got the noumenal world, the true reality that exists independently of our mind, a single, unified thing that is completely, totally unknowable. This distinction, it is everything.
So if the reality we know is just a projection, kind of like a user interface, then what does that mean for huge concepts like heroism, hope, and justice?
Well, another philosopher, Schopenhauer, he had a great name for this. He called it the veil of Maya, a beautiful but ultimately deceptive illusion. What that means is the epic struggle we see between heroes and villains, well, that's a powerful story, but it's a story being projected. It's not the fundamental reality itself.
The very things that make our heroes who they are, hope, a sense of justice, sheer willpower, they're all part of this projected reality. They basically become the heroism filter for the projector, acting like a kind of metaphysical armor that gives these characters their incredible conceptual strength.
And this brings us right to the climax. Batman, staring down Lex Luthor, decides he's done playing his role in this big movie. He's not going to fight the villain anymore, he's going to attack the projector itself.
So here's his plan. Using that Omega Axiom, he broadcasts a psychic truth to deconstruct Luthor's whole villainous persona, to show him it's just a meaningless illusion. But here's the accident, the fatal flaw. The broadcast isn't selective. By telling Luthor his ideals are self-imposed illusions, it screams to the universe that all ideals are. He doesn't just turn off the villain, he turns off the entire movie.
And now we see the fallout. Immediate and just horrifying. This is the philosophical collateral damage. Let's look at the Justice League, one by one, as their conceptual armor just dissolves right off of them.
First up, Wonder Woman. Her bracelets are indestructible because they represent a divine mandate. They are, for all intents and purposes, a philosophical construct. But when Batman's broadcast erases the very idea of divinity from their shared reality, well, they're not indestructible artifacts anymore. They're just metal. So when Luthor's weapons hit them, they just shatter. The concept was the armor, and suddenly, the armor is gone.
Next, Superman. He isn't just a strong guy, he's the man of tomorrow, an icon of hope. His invulnerability is literally tied to the metaphysical necessity of his role as a hero. But Batman's broadcast burns away the very concept of the potential to resist.
And poof, his invulnerability isn't pierced, it's just erased. The idea of Superman is gone, leaving only a biological entity who is suddenly and terrifyingly subject to the normal laws of physics.
And finally, Green Lantern. His entire power set is based on willpower, which he, understands through the heroic lens of courage. But when Batman's weapon rips away that veil of Maya, Hal Jordan looks into his ring, and for the first time, he sees the true source of his power.
And he doesn't see heroism. He sees the true, noumenal will, this blind, chaotic, meaningless force that's actually the engine of all suffering in the universe. Realizing that, his own heroic will just breaks. His construct collapses, leaving him powerless and defenseless.
So let's bring this all together with one last powerful analogy. Think of all the heroes and villains as actors in a movie. To stop the villain from hurting his friends on screen,
Batman didn't just run on stage and tackle him, he went to the projection booth and cut the power to the entire theater. He stopped the villain, sure, but he also turned off the heroes. The Justice League is left standing there on the battlefield, physically fine, but metaphysically erased. Catatonic. Just blank canvases hanging limply in the dark.
So Batman won the battle, but in doing so he may have destroyed the very idea of winning. And it leaves us with one final, pretty haunting question. If our most cherished ideals, things like heroism, actually need the protection of an illusion to exist, does that make them any less real?